Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video here on RevAtlas, and today we are taking a look at the camera review of the Realme X2. Now before we get started, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button and also give us a thumbs up at the end of the video if you happen to enjoy it. Now although the name might imply a similarity to the X2 Pro, the X2 actually has more in common with the Realme XT in terms of hardware. You get a 64 megapixel sensor with f1.8 aperture and 0.8 micron pixel size, a secondary 8 megapixel f2.2 1/4 inch sensor size with 1.12 micron pixel size ultra wide angle camera, and 2 megapixel macro and depth sensing cameras as well. Images shot on the X2 are great when it comes to sharpness and detail as well as dynamic range, but in terms of color science it could be a bit better, as it does tend to oversaturate some scenes, particularly when there's a lot of nature and landscapes involved. Focus is quick, and by default images are shot in 16 megapixels of resolution as a result of pixel binning, where 4.8 micron pixels are combined into one to give a larger 1.6 micron pixel size and hence the lower resolution. But you can also shoot in 64 megapixels, and the file sizes are quite a bit larger, around 3 times the size of the regular 16 megapixel pixel bin photos. Usually there's more detail on the pixel bin photos, but in the case of the X2, the 64 megapixel photos carry more detail and sharpness compared to the 16 megapixel ones. There's ever so slightly more noise as well, but in most scenes, especially in good light, it's hard to tell the difference. Photos from the ultra-wide angle camera capture a more dramatic field of view compared to a regular camera. The images are softer and have less details. There's also a difference in saturation and the color tone between both the cameras. This is something that we noticed especially on the Realme 5 Pro, and while they reduced it on the XT and now even further on the X2, it's still there and is visible in some instances especially. Coming to portrait mode, the edge detection is good but isn't perfect, and the blur levels are good and the image looks good overall, but there's still some softness to the portion in focus compared to the regular images. In terms of low lighting, the X2 performs decently. Higher the megapixels, higher is the noise level, and there's quite visible noise in the image, but then again not as much as you would expect when you see 64 megapixels on the specs sheet, and seems to be on par with some other 48 megapixel sensors that we have seen so far. Using night mode helps to get better low light images for sure, and doing so gives you better contrast and lower noise levels, although there's not much to gain in terms of the detail or sharpness, but there is some clarity added which gives the perception that those two parameters are better. The macro camera works well in terms of being able to focus up really close, as close to the object or subject as possible, but in terms of sheer image quality, the macro camera isn't too great. A lot of aberrations, some vignetting and weird color cast, but most importantly 2 megapixel resolution means there's not much detail or sharpness to work with. It does help at times and is definitely better than having no macro camera at all, although I personally would have appreciated a telephoto camera like the one on the X2 Pro. The selfie camera has been upgraded to a 32 megapixel f2 unit, which is a higher resolution than what you find with the X2 Pro and XT smartphones. The Realme X2 takes excellent selfies with an incredible amount of detail and sharpness, and you can even see single strands of hair on your face. Of course, this is only visible when you pixel peep, but what this means is that the sharpness and detail translate to an overall very impressive image when zoomed out as well. Dynamic range is also pretty good, and the HDR mode makes it better, and the portrait mode has great edge detection and blurring is good too, but there's some reduction in sharpness on the portion in focus, which makes your face a bit softer than when capturing photos in the regular mode, just like the rear camera. Videos can be recorded at a maximum resolution of 4K at 30 FPS without EIS, but you can also offer 1080p videos if you want stable footage with EIS. Both modes offer good detail and sharpness, and I personally would use the 1080p video since EIS definitely makes a huge difference unless you plan on using a gimbal yourself. Video quality is overall good and there's good dynamic range as well, and you can capture videos also in 1080p 60 fps, but in terms of the overall sharpness it seems to be a bit lesser, and there's also a slight purplish color cast that we noticed in the videos. But one thing that we noticed is that Realme has improved the drop frames which is present on phones such as the Realme XT, but this could also be attributed to the higher end processor that's fitted within the X2. You can shoot videos with the ultra-wide angle camera as well, but is limited to 1080p 30 fps without EIS, and the quality is not all that great. The front-facing camera video tops out at 1080p 30 fps, but luckily there's EIS on board and you get some good-looking footage. Hey guys, this is Sandeep from RevAtlas, and this is the front-facing camera on the Realme X2 capturing 1080p video at 30 fps. Let me know what you guys think about the overall sharpness, the dynamic range, how well has become my voice in this scenario, as well as the stabilization. One of the best additions to the video is the Bokya Mode, which to be honest is extremely impressive, and this is something that even most flagship camera phones don't offer, and no, it's not just a gimmick, as it works really well in terms of edge detection. Granted, it works better with just one person, but that itself is a great achievement, and we hope that more phones bring this feature. Bokeh is available on both the front and rear cameras, but it works well with people and doesn't work well with objects. You can shoot slow motion videos at 120fps in Full HD or 240fps or 960fps in 720p. We recommend sticking to 120fps unless you really need that extra slow motion since the clarity is better, but if you do, then go for 240fps. 960fps is actually interpolated footage and is not true 960fps, where you can see there's some stuttering and some missing frames as well. We also tried out the Gcam mod, where to be honest the results are much better, more accurate and more impressive looking than the stock images. We'll let you be the judge of which you prefer and what the differences are. If you're interested, we'll be putting the download link in the description below along with the best settings to be applied for optimal results. While the Redmi Note 8 Pro is great in terms of the stock camera experience, I think that the Realme X2 now trumps it due to the new video bokeh mode and better video. And if you want better photos, then you can just resort to using the Gcam mod instead. Under Rs 20k, I think this now becomes the new champion in terms of cameras. Thanks for watching this video. Please do hit the subscribe button if you liked it. See you again in the next one.